Hi, I'm Thomas from Believe in the Run.
This is Meaghan with Believe in the Run.
And today we are talking about the New Balance 1080
V14. This update is kind of minimal, but I think it works. So let's start with the upper here.
I actually really like the way the upper kind of slims out the foot more so. Like one of the things with the 1080 before, I felt like it was like, it's nice, but it's kind of got like a, you can't really tell from yours here, but like a wider like look to it where I feel like this one gets a little more sporty, gets a little more into that daily trainer look that I like.
Yeah, so if anyone had the 13, you'll notice a lot of similarities in this shoe. Specifically in the upper, you still have plenty of padding on the tongue. It's a gusseted tongue, which is nice. And in the heel, it does feel like this mesh is maybe thinned out a little bit, especially in the forefoot. It's maybe a little bit more breathable, which was nice for some of our summer runs. But overall, it's pretty simple but comfortable.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I notice is that in the midsole, it gets a little more sporty, I feel like. I don't know if it's like just tuned so that it has a more forward lean or what, but I felt like it had a little more get up than the last version.
Yeah, I have to agree. So the midsole foam is actually the same as it was, but the geometries have changed a little bit. And you can see that visually here. It's just changed. And same stack, so 38, 32, 6mm drop, but it does have a little bit more of like a toe off feeling. Like I think it's a little bit more rockered and maybe a little bit firmer in the forefoot so that you do get that a little bit more of a responsive ride. I have a wider foot and it felt fine for that. True to size, and yeah, no hot spots.
And you can see on my side I have that narrow foot, but the laces aren't like crunched down. So even though it accommodates a foot that's a little bit wider, for me it felt fine for my narrow foot. Which, if you go back a couple versions, I had a real difficult time finding the right sizing in the shoe. This one, no issues at all. 10.5 fits true to size.
The other thing that changed on this guy is the outsole pattern here. So the rubber, there's a little bit less of it, just a different pattern here. I think it works. I think you're still gonna get plenty of miles out of this guy.
This is where I actually had an issue with the shoe.
Okay.
So where this rubber comes down right in between, you know how like the pad of your foot, and I'll say it, the fat pad has like the knuckle part that's behind your big toe, and then there's kind of like a crease, and then the other side. This hit exactly in that area where when I first started running in the shoe, I had a thick sock on, and I felt like they gave a little bit of heat right between the foot there. So I switched it up to a lower volume sock, and as the shoe broke in, I didn't notice it as much, but it's something to pay attention to in the beginning. It certainly, on different surfaces, bothered me more, so I used it on a treadmill, and I think because you have that friction going between the belt and the shoe, that's where it seemed like the most noticeable. Out on the roads, it didn't seem that noticeable at all.
Yeah, I didn't have that issue at all. I think what I like about it is it's simple and there's no like frills and bells and whistles to it, but it just feels kind of nice out on the run. I wasn't really ever thinking about my feet or the shoe I was wearing when I was wearing it, so that's definitely a win.
Yeah, I'm glad I waited later on because I think it would have made a difference on how I perceived the shoe up front. It is heavy. Like, this is the year of heavy trainers. For some reason, all the shoe brands, I think, were trying to get things down to a lower weight, and maybe there was problems with durability, or then when you take the padding out of the heel counter, people were getting blisters that way. So I think that they were just like, let's just make a comfortable shoe. Who cares what the weight is? So 11.75 ounces or 333 grams for a size 10.5, which is on the heavier side. Like when we had the Ultra Boost come out this year, at first I was like, oh, just under 11 ounces. The Ultra Boost is still heavy. Turns out the Ultra Boost might be one of the lighter shoes in the daily training like pantheon that we got this year.
My women's 7.5 came in at 8.5 ounces or 241 grams. So again, it's not the lightest shoe out there, but I do think we've seen this trend and shoes are getting a little bit heavier. And when you're talking about a daily trainer or a shoe you're going out to do easy runs in, I just don't think it's that big of a factor. And
the comfort's more important.
I'd rather have the comfort and the stack height than a lighter shoe.
So what would you compare this trainer to as far as feel?
I think the most similar shoe I've worn recently would be the Asics Nova Blast.
So the Nova Blast 4 weighs in your size about an ounce lighter
Yep.
than that one. So for me, the Nova Blast 4 weighs about 2 ounces lighter. So that would be a knock against the shoe for me, is that between the two, you can get a similar feel at a much lighter weight.
Yeah. Like I said, though, for what I'm using this trainer for, the weight isn't that big of an issue for me. I thought this underfoot feel, while the changes are minor, it just felt a little better, a little bit more responsive, and just a smoother ride overall.
Yeah, I would agree that some of the things that, if we're only considering the weight, that would be one thing. But the feel of the shoe is very nice. The fit is great. I think that this is another shoe, like when we're talking, people are always asking us now, like they want a shoe that they can transition between running and the rest of their day. This is one of those shoes that does that very well.
Yeah, I wish that they had given us the lifestyle colorways. This shoe is going to be launching in this color, but also there's like a bone off-white color that looks...
Like with a little bit of sage.
Yeah, and it looks very nice, and I would definitely opt for that one if you were interested in this shoe. So while we're on that topic, it is going to come out at $165, and it's launching on 10/10.
We're trying to figure out our rating system. Until we get that all squared away, let's just go back to the red light, green light. What are you going to give it, Meg?
Yeah, this one gets a green light. It's a very solid daily trainer. It's, like I said, it doesn't have any bells and whistles. It's not fancy, no carbon plates, but it's just a really nice trainer.
I'll give it a green light as well. It does what it's supposed to do. It works the way it's supposed to work. It feels good underfoot. You're going to have a good time in it, especially if you like the way that New Balance fits. This is going to be one for you. That's it. Let's call it a wrap.
All right. If you haven't, definitely go and like this video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We hit over 100,000, which is pretty cool. You can also find us on Strava, Instagram, Facebook. We have 2 podcasts that come out, The Drop and Fuel for the Soul. And all of our reviews are also up on believeintherun.com, so you can check them out there.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our email. You'll get everything you need. Talk to you later.
And all of our reviews are also up on believeintherun.com, so you can check them out there. Okay, you're not going to say a word.
I love doing this to you guys now. It's like you guys are so used to me just jumping in all the time.
That's how this works. You go back and forth.
Oh, okay. Anyway.